Yep. About that time, ladies and gentlemen, to go live once again on Tuesday night live streams on the Emceemur show. We've been away from a bit, just for a bit, and now that we're back and ready to get action going, I'm joined by my co-host, Harry the Hellbug. No, I'm not really. But we've got some really important things to look at tonight. All on one console, of course. The Legends Flashback Deluxe from AtGames. Now that we've added the Nintendo and Super Nintendo ROMs on there, there's talk of adding ROMs from other systems on here. That's going to happen. Update videos on the way, but in the meantime, we're going to be doing a live stream tonight to check out some of this great goodness therein. You can see the NES stuff right here. We've got it listed with the prefix so that we know what ROMs go where. But we're going to go ahead and go backward. 691 pages of games. So, I mean, again, while some of those are from other regions and, versions of the same game, it's a lot of dadgum games, and you've got everything that you could possibly want here. We're going to get started right away with some of the stuff that I've handpicked for tonight's fun stream. We are already joined by the Stiffmeister and Big JB Jeff Bailey. Welcome back to TNL. Glad to be here. It's been a long time. That was by design. We had lots of uploads we needed to get done. Lots of great content that we had to bring your way. And, we're really no more caught up than we were before because things have happened. There's been more stuff. There's just so much more coming your way on the show. Never been a better time to be part of Mur-Nation and subscribed to the Emceemur show. I'm going to remind you right now, if you're just checking this out on a recap, or even if you're watching live right now, we haven't heard anything out of your mouth yet. We're going to need you to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the Emceemur show. Hit that notification bell so you are the first to know when new content goes live right here. So everything starts with Super. Now, you could have just left it at that. That's how you know it's Super Nintendo. We'll get the Super SNES prefix on there so we know what's what. The first one on our list, I think I went past it because I'm kind of on a roll here. Super Valis IV. Did I say NES? And yes, they do. Both of them work right out of the box. No update needed. There was a previous video on this channel about that. Shows you everything you need to do, so check that out. Super Valis IV USA. Here we go. The fourth installment in the Valis series, and not necessarily the best, but they're all great, so there is really no best. But the first one to still be Telenet, but published by Atlus here in the States with Super Nintendo, and the first one where the protagonist changes. Yes, Yuko's in the story, but you play this other chick, Rika, I can't remember what her name was. It's been decades since I've played. But what a dadgum great game. Still some of the best platforming and action and cutscenes that you're going to see in a game. I love Telenet. If you watch the show, you know that. Big Renovation fan. Sean Bennett's in the house. Welcome SB to tonight's special comeback live stream. Stiffmeister, just subscribe. Glad to have you as a part of Mur-Nation. We're rising up all the fantastic things we do right here on the show. You need to be a part of. Let's get down with some Valis 4 right now. Again, you can't go wrong with Valis. If it says Valis, you're in. You're having what you want done. But this is such a great game. All of them were. The artwork was great. It was ahead of its time in that instance. And then if you played Valis 2 on the Turbo Duo, if you played any Valis, on that side of things, and you actually had the voice acting, the games on disc was just so absolutely delicious. Now, this may take a minute to get acclimated to. We're using a Genesis 6 button. Now, these are Super Nintendo games. That's the only thing that gets kind of weird about playing these games on here is, you're playing with a 6-button Genesis controller, and that's fine, because to me, it's really a Cadillac of controllers, but it's not what you're used to in terms of some Super Nintendo layouts, obviously, unless you're playing something like Street Fighter that a 6-button format's not going to throw you for a loop. But that's okay. We'll get the groove going. Sean Bennett says he got a Legends Flashback for $11. See, that's what's up. You play the waiting game on these things, and most of these retailers, especially this time of year for the Christmas rushes, they overstock. And then their trash becomes your treasure. We did all the reviews on those blast units, and most of those are going from anywhere as low as $4 to $10 depending on where you pick one up, and they're definitely worth it for that. There was argument about whether or not they were at the full price, but you definitely can't scoff at a $5 plug and play with multiple games on it. So yeah, good stuff. That pixel fade, that signature Super Nintendo look, that's so classic, so characteristic of the console. So you've got these special icons up here for her to use when you hit up and... Oh, you gotta select it, that's right. Again, I'm having some trouble getting acclimated to this because I don't know... There we go. I got 6 buttons instead of the 4 slant right here like we're used to on the Super Nintendo. These games aren't incredibly hard. I mean, you can blast through them, but there are some challenging boss battles, and there's some challenging mini bosses, and the story is really cool. Which ROMs can we add? NES and Super Nintendo for now. But I have it on good authority that the Genesis ones will go right on there, just like they did the previous model. And we will have an upcoming follow-up vid with how to bin those and file those ROMs correctly, add them to this, and then we're going to be having some mega volume on this, as if we don't already. But just to get it all on there and have a veritable EverDrive or a RetroPie in your hands. Maybe not the quality of a RetroPie if you're a nitpicker, but still, I mean, when you're talking about, you just bought one for $11, you know, when you're doing it like that, the Vicanti Dominator. Ashcan is here. Welcome, Ash. Oh, see, I'm sitting here mashing the wrong button and I'm not jumping. I'm not going to make it through the boss fight. Alright, come on. Oh, just barely getting through. Got him. Now, there is questions as to whether or not we can add in ColecoVision ROMs, because this plays ColecoVision games and Intellivision. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, because it has the virtual keypad worked into those games. I don't know how that would work for adding the ROMs in. I mean, maybe you could add them, maybe you could play them, but without that keypad, they wouldn't do you much good. What is the? I feel like there's more to that question, and we will wait for it, and I will answer it when it comes. Man, it's been a minute since I played this. It has not been a minute since I played the other Valis games. We've streamed Valis 1. We've streamed Valis 3. I don't have a way to stream Valis 2 because I don't have a working Turbo Duo here. I think that's something next year that I'm just going to have to break down and get. You're not going to find it in the wild for a price that you'd be willing to pay anyway. And if you do, it hasn't been recapped, and you know, you're working with a commodity. You're working with something that's literally on borrowed time. So I'm really thinking about investing in one of those, possibly a 3DO as well. What is the difference between the deluxe and the regular version of this console? That's what we're not really clear on. There are, well, I say we're not. There were people that commented on the previous video we did on modding this thing as to what 10 games you got extra on the Sam's Club version that weren't on the other ones. They were some weird picks too. And again, it's kind of a moot point. If you're going to add ROMs to it, you know, you're going to get them all anyway. And I think I just fell and now I'm going the wrong way. But yeah, I haven't seen any other version for sale in my area. I've not seen this in any other store. I haven't seen it in any store, period, in my area. I actually ordered this off of samsclub.com. It's supposed to be an online exclusive, as is the Atari Flashback X. Now they're showing up in stores. I did get my Flashback X at the store. Just happened to be in there clothes shopping, and boom, there it was. So I brought it home. But some really weird things going on in the AtGames distribution end of things, and I don't even know if they can fully explain it. It's between them and it's between the retailers, and we just don't know where, when, and how we're going to have these things come available to us. So kind of a weird dynamic there. And we'll talk more about that in updates to come. Does she do the slide like she used to? I guess she doesn't. I thought she did. Again, I'm fighting blind here. Is this released in Canada yet? I believe it is. Yeah. If you another great channel in our retro gaming network, Brian's Man Cave. Any of y'all watch Brian? I believe he picked up. I believe he picked one up, and he's up there. All these different powers. I just have the regular AtGames Legends Flashback. Will that run the end? You know, they said it would, but there was a newer update on the website that's supposed to be able to allow it to do that. Initially, the update that was made available only allowed it to run the Sega ROMs. And when I took the newer update down myself and tried to attach it to mine, it just wouldn't take. It wouldn't recognize it. So I don't know why it did that. And it looks like the Ice Pirate has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Ice. Fantastic to have you on the scene. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Live Streams. She's got to do her little slide, doesn't she? It would be down in a button, and she's just not doing it. Or she, no, that's right, she runs. Forgot. Yuko slides. This chick runs. Wrap up! I told you, it's been probably upwards of 20 years since I messed with this. What year was this? Probably the last year I played this, probably somewhere in the late 90s. So it's been a hot minute. Oh, she leaves her sword there, she's dead. Well, if it hadn't taken us 10 years to get up the dadgum thing. Ice says he can't load the video. Well, Ice, we're going to have to get you transplanted to an area that fiber internet had not forgotten. You know, streaming in general takes up some serious bandwidth, but so does watching it. So we take for granted the speeds we have now. And I can't believe some of these providers are still offering things as low as 8 meg internet and saying, oh, super fast. Get out of here, Brett. It's my man's internet. I mean, the bigger things get, the more data there is. That's just not going to cut it. Run, run! Can't believe I forgot she could run. I'm a little bit fuzzy about how the rest of this game plays out. I mean, I can see the entirety of 1 and 2 and 3 in my mind, but I think I've only played all the way through this one time, and again, when I was really hard on it was the 90s, so it's been a minute. Well, Ice, thanks for coming out, and hopefully you can drop that sweet, sweet like and watch the recap at your leisure at a buffering that your internet can withstand. And don't stop at Valis. If you are not versed on the Telenet games, renovation games on Sega Genesis, if you haven't played any of those, you gotta go back. Look at the little mini Magus coming out. It's a mini Magus. It's like a mini version of Emperor Magus. Was the antagonist of the second Valis. Oh, come on now! Holy hitboxes, Batman. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the menu. We're not going to wail on these games for 3 hours apiece. Nobody wants to see that. Well, you might, and we'll do that at a later date, but this is a tour. Overall, we want to take a look at some different things that this system has to offer, and we're going to do that. And my system has gone to sleep. What is it doing? There it is. Well, it's up. Well, it wouldn't be a live stream if we weren't having issues, I'm going to tell you. my capture card has lost signal, so we'll give it a second to figure out what it's doing. And then we'll move on to the next game. It's been almost a month since we've live streamed, so it has been a minute. But everything was updated on my end, so I'm not sure what it's doing. We'll give it just a second. And I'll be looking for the next one while it does what it needs to do. It is always something. It really is. In fact, I've considered just giving up streaming altogether because it literally is always something. I enjoy doing it, but it just gets to the point where, well, this. One moment, please. Well, that's exciting. I don't know how many moments you really need there. Fonzie it up here. You know, I've got a new capture card I haven't even opened yet. And it may be better than this one. I don't know. But full disclosure, it's not the flashback. It's my capture card wigging out. No, it doesn't look good, EC. It doesn't look good at all. My elgato has stopped working. Did you try deactivating elgato in OBS? The last USB to... Okay, so the USB itself is not working. Well, we can certainly try that, Carlos. Try blowing out. Well, the whole thing's frozen now. And it's back. And now the webcam is gone. Ah, it looks like we're back. Well, isn't that exciting? All right, so Carlos coming through with a deactivation action there. Now we'll see if this thing can hang on. I guess Valis IV was too much for it. Oh, the Elgato's a piece of I will not go with one of those again. They are absolutely awful. And never mind the fact that's what everybody uses. It changes nothing. It's been nothing but trouble the whole time I've used it. 2 years of nothing but absolute trouble. We're going to be changing to the Aver Media, whatever it is. I don't know. Your player 2 likes the thing a lot. We're going to try it out and see how it does, but I'm about done with the Elgato. It's an absolute turd. They tell you can run it off a duo-core processor, and you actually need an i7 and a RTX 2060 mega card and 32 gigs of RAM, and even then its own stream command and everything lags like a turd you can't get to fall out. Look at this. That doesn't look good at all. But sometimes the ROMs aren't perfect. The Hoppage PVR. I've heard good things about it too. The Elgato is all I've ever had though. Alright, let's pick Ray, because she knows the score, and she's probably tough on the streets. Okay, which button does it? Here we go. She means business. A little Sailor Moon action. I don't know why we didn't get these in the States. I mean, Sailor Moon was on TV. I used to watch it. I mean, was it the most popular cartoon on television? Probably not. Could you have given it a game? Sure. Oranka. I'm afraid it might do that after every time you return to the flashback menu. That's an interesting hypothesis, Carlos. So you're suggesting that it may actually be the flashback, and that could be. Now I will tell you, the Retron 77 from Hyperkin, total piece of junk, and the Commodore 64 Mini, cool, but same problem. I mean, the Elgato can't even recognize those things. And when it does, which is like half the time, it does not pick up sound from it. Yeah, we got Dragon Ball, and I saw, you know, Ranma, and, you know, there were anime games. There were games with that art style that were not necessarily a series. I mean, looking around on here, if you watched the previous video, I found that the Slayers had an RPG on here. Who knew? I loved the Slayers. I've got Slayers on VHS. The comic series. Super cool. I haven't streamed with the flashback yet. Now, you know, that's what's going to be interesting, is if it does do it again, as per Carlos's theory. I mean, this in itself, in a sense, is still part of the review, because a lot of people, you know, the selling point for this would be that, hey, ease of streaming, you know? If there's a translation patch of Slayers, and I bet there is, my wife would love to play that. I'd have to talk to somebody that actually knows about the, like, Daria plays RPGs. Daria's pretty well versed in that kind of stuff, translation patches and whatnot. I wouldn't know how to go about getting one, but yeah, I would definitely be down to play that. That's what the retro community's about, man. Everybody plays to their strengths, and then we kind of bring up the rears for other people's weaknesses. Y'all are chiming in here on some things, and we troubleshot this thing and got the stream back online. It's a beautiful thing. I was anticipating trouble tonight, but not that kind of trouble. It's been about a month since we've streamed here on the show, and it's just such a mess every time. But I love to do it because I like to, you know, bounce ideas off you guys. This is the networking part, outside of just the comment section, that we like to do here on the show, and I like to get your thoughts on some of this stuff. I like to show you games you may not have seen before, and games that you have. So it'd be something I'd hate to do away with on the show, but for what you put in and the effort, you know, you got to ask if that's effort that would be best spent elsewhere, like just filming, editing, and uploading, and that seems to pay off more in the long run as far as quality content I'm bringing you, because let's face it, a busted up stream is not quality content. I got to really make decisions there on where we're going with all that, but that's why we're here tonight. This is going to be a test for it. But the reason we're here tonight was to look at this. I mean, that's the pattern on these. We check them out, we do a little tinkering with them, and then we get them on here and we check out what we did, and again, bounce some of that off of you guys and see what you think about it. So this is the Final Fight equivalent of Sailor Moon. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how your device works with it versus this one, if it's temperamental in any way, shape, or form. In fact, you pretty much got the gist of what's going on here. So let's go back to the menu and see if it does it again. You know, in my time of doing this, I have never once had to deactivate that through OBS. I've never seen that before. And it didn't happen immediately. It happened after we started moving here, and then it pooped out. But let's move on to the next game in our tour. John Phillips is in the house. Had to dip in on you, sir. Man, that's great. I'm glad you're here. Glad all of y'all are checking in because this is an interesting one. I went too far again. Here we go. I passed it. Ah, where is it? There we go. And you want to find the USA version, of course. I'd like to be able to read it. Not MechWarrior 3050. That's a different deal. 3050 kicks it back to the Urban Strike, Jungle Strike look. This MechWarrior was MechWarrior in every sense of the word, except for one thing. It ended up kind of not being canon to the Battletech universe, in my opinion, in that they used mechs that weren't out of the tabletop game. It's like they did their own thing. And there couldn't have been a licensing issue. It is MechWarrior. How did you reset the game to get back to main menu? I have to reset mine on the console every time. So you hit start on the controller and up. You can see on the screen right now on the bottom bar, that's a hotkey, and that pulls it up. Not ideal, I know, and it makes you feel like you have to reset it every time. Oh, this is so great. Somebody in our community streamed this recently, I think, unless I just dreamed it because I've been really wanting to play it again. This is one I played all the way through back in the day, a few different times. It's really good, despite being, again, a little different from, you know, if you played MechWarrior on DOS back in the 80s. I did. Again, if you played Battletech, the tabletop pen and paper game, the mechs that you remember from those games, these are a little different. So let's see what we have. We have this thing, which is basically like a Jenner, I guess, but I don't know what they call it. Let's see what they call some of these things. Or they don't even have names, do they? I think they give them names. They just have different types. So here's this, and then they bolt the arms on, and then the bigger legs, and then this is kind of like a Warhammer without actually being one. Looks more like the REF Robotech upgraded Excalibur. But we're gonna run what we brung right now. Let's go ahead and get armor and weight and your heat and all that. Yeah, that one's called Bob. They're like the Space Quest droids. Alright, well, we loaded up on armor. Let's hope that'll do it. We got short range missiles and a laser. I think we do want armor first off. I'm not really, again, this is another one from 20 years back. I don't remember the balance that well, but seems like armor is what you want. You can fall off in the club and get some news. Because you're hunting down mercenaries. And you're going to do side gigs for money. Has anything beat the Super Retrocade, though? Yeah, you know, a lot of people have talked about that in the comments, that it's ready to go right out of the box, fire and forget, it rocks and rolls. So yeah, I've heard nothing but good about those. Prince Hans Davion. It's hard to say what was to blame tonight for that fart. The flashback itself or the elgato. Could have been my PC too. I think just the USB drive, it really upset it. Hi there, my name is Cyril. Listen. Yeah, we want work. So we're going to HQ. Garrison duty. then you come in here and you can negotiate for a higher... Okay, they took it. And sometimes they don't, but they meet you in the middle and you get what you're asking for. Check out the info. There's 2 light mechs here. So we're on guard duty. We know that we have to take those mechs out. Oh, we don't need to save the game. Okay, let's head to the jump jet. Sean, thanks so much for stopping in. Sorry for the Elgato having a brain fart there in the middle of the action. I want to get you all the action possible, if I can do it. But thanks so much for stopping by, each and every one of you. Make sure that you drop a like. We're going to take Bob the Mech out for this mission. Again, so Super Nintendo. Those are the missiles. Oh no, no jump jets. That's to switch between the weapons. Oh crap, I forgot how to aim. We can figure that out anytime, can't we? It's not that. Okay, it's that moves the crosshairs. What I did not like about this game was you really don't get into the combat like you do on DOS MechWarrior, because you can spam missiles like crazy, and if you have enough of them, you don't end up using any other weapons. In DOS MechWarrior, God, you gotta get a locust and run up under the big mech's legs with a machine gun, saw the legs off, drop them where they stand. You gotta kind of get technical till you have the money to buy the big mechs. Tyler Mason is here. Welcome, Big Ty. Great to have you on Tuesday Night Livestream. First time we've been at it in a while. But this is still a great game, and not everybody had it. You know, I didn't have a way to play DOS MechWarrior as the years went on. Now we've got DOSBox and great programs like that that allow us to go back in time and enjoy those. Again, this just wasn't MechWarrior. It just, I don't know why they made theirs so different, or if there was even a reason. So we're gonna do riot duty on the planet Pooksy. $126. We're getting them to go up a little bit, so we'll take that. We settled on 127. I didn't even check out the information, but let's hit it. Not so fast. We forgot to repair. Let's fix them up. Not too bad. So we made some money. There was a Death Star schematic. They're building one. They just don't want it. They don't want you to know. Toe to toe with a big dog. See, I mean, I was having fun scrapping with him, but I can just sit here, spam the missile, and he's done. I'm not making a great case for the game, but it really is fun as it progresses, taking on stronger mech units. On why Xenocrisis didn't get a SNES port. I'm confused with that a little. I don't know. I could go on all day about why we didn't get certain things on the Super Nintendo. And this system, strangely enough, is a big eye-opener there, because just going through the ROMs and then Googling some of what I'm finding that I didn't even know existed, like, God, why didn't we get this in the States? I so would have played this. And if I knew about it then, you know, if I would have known and recognized it then I would have been the demographic, and I wouldn't have been the only one. So, just weird. That's MechWarrior. Let's move on with the tour. Now, this next one I'm very excited about. Very excited about because here is yet another one that we did not get in the States. Now, we got it on Genesis, and it's one of my favorites. Probably in my top 10 Genesis games all time. Arcus Odyssey. If you watch the show, you know I'm a big fan. You know, I did a player pass or pass or play or whatever it was with Russ Lyman, and that was the game I picked for that. So if you watch Russ, you saw that on his show. Gave you a pretty good rundown of what you can expect in that game, but we didn't get it on Super Nintendo here in the States. Instead, there was a Super Famicom release of Arcus Spirits. And Arcus Spirits, of course, is in Japanese, so I can play it without having to read it because I know what the items are by looking at them. But then I look over here and there's an Arcus Odyssey USA prototype ROM, and it's in English, but it's the version of Arcus Spirits. So a little bit difference in the sprites, and the music is the same music, but different versions of the music. It's almost like hearing a band you really like do a cover song of another band you really like. Oh man, here we are back on that Wolf Team, that renovation kick, man. I'm going to tell you, these are the games right here. Rich's random stuff. What systems does this play? This is the same one we've been talking on, Rich. This is the Legends Flashback Deluxe, and so far we only know that it plays NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and the jury's still out on ColecoVision or Intellivision, but chances are good that it might. So the characters in this game are a little different. I mean, because they're almost like the difficulty. The Archer gal is the easiest because she's got a healing spell. Wizard's next in line because he's got a good projectile weapon, but he's weak. And the other two are strong fighters, but their range definitely doesn't do well. I was curious how 2600 and Genesis. I think both of those will work. And we're going to check those out in upcoming follow-up videos on how to add them and what they look like after we get them on there. We may do follow-up live streams. Yeah, we need to check ColecoVision for sure. And if it allows you to use that virtual keypad on here, that's money in the bank. I've been itching to play some looping. Now you see how it went in right there? It doesn't do that on the Sega version. Again, so Super Nintendo of it. That pixel fade out. And as far as MAME, I don't know. I haven't done anything with that yet. This is more of a place marker here, this live stream, to get back into it and to show you what we've got so far. Yeah, the keypad, man, that's killer. Because on a RetroPie, I've got some of those ROMs, and I'm gonna have to get a keyboard for it or something. I don't know, but yeah, just right off the cuff, it doesn't like that or the Commodore ROMs at all. Again, if you have not played this game, you're missing out. And while I don't expect you to import a Famicom version or Super Famicom version, you can pick up the Sega Genesis version that was released in the States, Arcus Odyssey. I can't oversell it. So you can tell by what he says if he's actually detecting which waterfall to go into. Oh, we took the medicine of regeneration. A gem box for $15. I've never heard of that, Rich, but you've piqued my interest now. Oh, that big thing's tongue can barely miss me. Nope, Doll of Life. So even if you don't find... Even if you don't find the right waterfall, I mean, it's one of the three, and it's different every time. This game's really different every time you play it. It'll give you a chance to go ahead and loot those other chests. Boss fight. Well, that didn't take long. Go ahead and get us some life. Now, see, that's the power-up gem. If you get the red, it powers up your weapon. If you get it while it's blue, it powers up your life. You have to make the call. It's very Diablo-esque, yeah, before we really... I won't say before. I mean, Diablo was around a lot earlier on. But, I got Arcus Odyssey, though, I think it was like 92. It probably does predate it. I don't know, I'd have to look. But, it's definitely got that feel to it. And because the character builds change depending on what gem you pick after each boss battle, playing with each character every time is different, but you got 4 different characters to play it with differently each time. So tons of replay value in there for a game like this. It's kind of pricey, but it's worth it. A magical power crystal. Now the magical power crystal, that sounds pretty generic, doesn't it? But what you do is you get as many of those as you can. You can get like 6 of them at a time. And then you use them to use magic spells. And if you pick 3 of them to use at one time, that's like a 3-level tier of spell that you'll use. It's different depending on what tier you use. And it's different for every player. Every tier is a different type of magic and a different tier. So again, so much depth, and I'm getting nailed here because I'm sitting here talking to you about it, and that's okay because I've beat this plenty of times, but better I sit there and talk to you about it. Yeah, this is the Super Nintendo version, Arcus Spirits. And again, if you import this, it's not going to be this. This is a prototype ROM that's on this, and it's translated. Arcus Spirits, of course, will be in Japanese. Now, if you know the game as well as I do, and you know what all the items are, and where they are, and what they do, you probably could get through the game without having to read it. Plus, I know what all the characters are saying. So I wouldn't need to know what they were saying, or any of the hints, or what they're telling me to do. But, yeah, it'd be better just to play it in English so you can hear what's going on. Or read what's going on. It's a cool story, even though there's a lot of stuff in it lost in translation. You can tell what's going on. It's neat. Does the Genesis version vary like that? I mean, it looks just like this, but there's a little bit of sprite difference in some of the icons. The music will sound a little bit different, of course, from one system to the next. It is the same game. But me, just being a huge fan of the game, I've been dying to play Arcus Spirits, and I've almost imported it a couple times, and probably still will, just to have a copy on the shelf, just to experience it that way, and, you know. I'm getting tore up from the floor up. Yeah, it's very Diablo-ish, and it's 2-player co-op, so that also gets interesting. There's NPCs that you pick during the adventure, too, and in those times and those parts of the game, each player will pick an NPC from who's available. So again, just more depth, just more ways this game can be played and experienced, so I cannot suggest it enough. Use our Lamp of Life here and get the wizard back on track because he's taking a bruising. Fatal Labyrinth was cool, albeit very basic. But I remember playing that, you know, in the infancy of the Sega Genesis and just marveling at... Oh, I wasted that. I should have known not to take that yet. And just marveling at, you know, the stats and the way the layout of it was, and just thinking, man, this is going to be a great system. Not even knowing at that time what we had in store. I mean, Phantasy Star 2, we had so many great RPGs, the Shining games, all that came to the Sega Genesis. Everybody gets caught up in the, you know, Super Nintendo had the best RPGs, and it had great ones, but I'm not going to say one had better ones than the other, because there's different on both sides. Then you just get into a Coke and Pepsi argument, and you're always going to be 50% divided on that, it seems like. Alright, so I could have picked any of these people to come, except the one in the middle who's dead. But yeah, they all have a different power and thing that they do. And this chick here's got these little cream puff homing shots here that really come in handy. So then we up our firepower. Herzog was cool. And you know, back in those days, these weren't rare games. They were for sale. I mean, I remember almost buying Musha for like $15 on clearance at Toys R Us. And, you know, everyone knows now that's like a $300 game or whatever it is these days. But yeah, we didn't think of anything. We didn't think of that back then. You didn't really think that we'd go as far as we have in gaming and where this stuff would ever become vintage old stuff. The music on the stage, by and large, is my favorite of the soundtrack on this game. I've worked on guitar adaptations to it. I know I'd probably be the only one that knew what it was if I ever performed it somewhere, but it's really cool. KDB, man, there ain't nothing wrong with a quick drop-in, brother. Glad to see you. Glad to have you. I'm glad you're leaving that like. Do not work too hard, because you know that I won't. Actually, I probably will. I work harder at home than I would at 2 real jobs. Ugh. Got me. I think we crossed all the bases there. Can we get on a giant turtle shell? Rich, thanks for stopping by, dude. If you stay just 10 more seconds, you'll see us get dropped by King Handagon. Maybe not, though. If Furea's homing shots can actually hit their mark. No, I got dropped. But we do have the Doll of Life. You don't really want to use them this early on. Again, just really inventive boss fights. I don't recall him being this difficult on the Sega version. I really don't see him flashing when I'm hitting him, and I don't Not feeling that hitbox love. Oh, he got the better of us. What can I say? But that's that. The evil sorceress Castamira. But that's a good one. I gotta recommend it. We got a few more minutes here. Let's take one more look at something. I want to see what we have on here in the way of Fire Pro games. All right. Or are they on here? Well, I know what is because I saw it earlier. And it's a game that doesn't get mentioned much. USA, so what is this? A beta. Oh, let's play a buggy beta version of it. Of Chavez Boxing. Well, that's really cool. Watch, that'll be a ROM that doesn't work. Which, what this is if you've ever played Boxing Legends of the Ring, and it was basically a game with, you know, middleweights. Look at all the lines on this. That was happening on that Sailor Moon one. That's got to be something to do with the ROMs. Chavez Boxing. Okay, so this is in Spanish. That may be a little bit difficult. I know the beta version didn't have lines in it, so while that's interesting, I'm not going to actually check that out in stream. I'm going to go to the other ROM and see if that looks any better, because that... I actually have a physical copy of Chavez Boxing. Same basic game, just a different roster. That looked like farts. And this does not, so we'll go with that. And it's so funny, they have the faces from Greatest Heavyweights. Wow, that's what this is set up like. Now, this is not the Chavez I remember. I get it. Chavez 2 is the one that mimics Boxing Legends of the Ring. That's just Chavez. So that must have been its own thing. And I don't have that. I'm going to tell you, you learn so... There's so many people try to come across like they know it all, too. And I don't think... I like to think I don't do that. But where I'm going with that is you don't know it all. You never know it all. There's always something you haven't experienced and something to make you go, what? Man, really? Wow. I've added so many ROMs to all these systems. Which one is my favorite to play on? Right now, it probably would be the Legends Flashback itself with the Sega ROMs on it. If I gotta have, if you know, Desert Island kind of thing, I've gotta have my Sega ROMs. But, you know, we don't have to just stop at that. Apparently, they all will work on this. So if we get them all on this system, then this will be the one to keep out of the box and use. And even then, I got Pies, I got EverDrives. I really don't need any of this stuff, but I collect the AtGames products. They're fun to look at, and I have a good time looking at it with you guys. So in a lot of cases, it provides some cost-effective alternatives to like a built Pi or EverDrive that could cost upwards of $100 or more. How's it? It looks like the faces from Greatest Heavyweights. That's because it is Greatest Heavyweights. Would you look at this? So why can I only punch with one hand? What's my... Okay. B and Y are the other hand. See, that would have been different. It would have been Z and C. And Greatest Heavyweights was not released, to my knowledge, on Super Nintendo. So that also makes this interesting. Again, same game, same format, different roster. So There is a Doritos ad in the back. I just caught that. Also, not something that you would see on Greatest Heavyweights that I know of. There was no sponsorship of anything like that. Got them on the ropes here. Yeah, they're very weird. You can, and you know, technically this should be a Sega game, and it's not. Because again, Greatest Heavyweights did not get released on Super Nintendo. And Super Nintendo had some boxing games that Sega didn't get. You know, like Riddick Bowe Boxing. But this is in the Evander Holyfield Real Deal Boxing bloodline. This model here. So if there's that, is Chavez 2 on here? Because again, it was Legends of the... I'm going to have to play a career on that. It is, look. Chavez 2 USA. So this is the one that's mimicked after Boxing Legends of the Ring. And you got to wonder if that was, I think, you know, because these are in Spanish and they have Latino rosters largely. These must have just been released, but they show as a U.S. release. But it's almost like those were released maybe in, you know, I don't know, Mexico, Brazil, anywhere else that Sega was real big. That's weird, man. Again, it's in Spanish, so yeah, it's like, that's wild. Absolutely wild. It's like they released them with those rosters there because they'd be more familiar with those fighters, you know. Makes a lot of sense when you think about it, but it's neat. It's interesting to think about. These are good games. Jester's in the house. Welcome, Jester. Rodrigo, Rolando. Well, let's be Chavez. You gotta kind of balance them out. Well, in career mode you would, but... Why don't we just do that? Why don't we do a... Oh, well, it started one up. Anyway, we just want to see the fight. But there's a very robust career mode in both of the games you've just seen as far as building your fighter, training in between fights. Really, really fun game. This is kind of like a third-person over-the-shoulder perspective, if you've never seen Boxing Legends of the Ring. And you're kind of hitting up to face punch and left or right to go to the body. And I'm seeing the same thing here, using the same buttons we were using in the last game. The 4 on this side for left, right, left, right. And the little boxing glove above the big boxing glove is your super punch. You can earn more of those after corner breaks. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think... See, look how his face is starting to get bloodied up. Not many games did that back in the day. One of the earliest I ever saw do it was TKO Boxing on the Commodore 64. And I remember as a little boy playing that game and seeing the cuts and the blood, as pixelated and ugly as it was, you know, being a Commodore game. That was so cool to me that I was damaging my fighter's face. So start pauses. And I don't know, because there's no select button on the Sega controller, I don't know how to throw the super punch. But I do know that Rodrigo is in pain. His face icon is flashing, which means he's close to a knockdown. And he's on the mat. He's up. You know, interesting, the Legends of the Ring on the Super Nintendo, you actually see the damage on the face in the icon. Whereas on this, the face and the icon in the avatar box up there isn't changing. The guy's actual face is getting bloodied up, and then actually a lot more detail. There was not blood, per se, in the Super Nintendo. You're gonna kill him. Throw in the towel! But, there was just swelling and lumps, you know, where his eyes would swell shut. But they didn't show blood, come to think of it. And you know how Super Nintendo was in the States about blood, the whole Mortal Kombat thing? That's probably why. Big Doug Blackburn's in the house. ColecoVision ROMs work on this? We don't know yet, Doug. But there's going to be some testing done tonight by myself. By Big E.C. Myers, first of all. But we'll get his results in, and if we can get them added on here, if we find out that they do work with the keypad and everything, we'll take a look. There'll be a follow-up video on that specifically, and a follow-up live stream to tour it, because I'm going to tell you, what I wouldn't give to play some looping and some, you know, some old school Coleco stuff that I've been yearning to play right here on the show. At the Southern Fried Gaming Expo, there was actually a looping cabinet there. And it was out of order by the time I found it. Somebody had looped it out of shape. And I hate that. I hope nobody bought it. I hope it's back next year at the expo and it's for sale. Maybe coming home with me. There was a kangaroo cabinet too, and I'll be lying if I said I didn't want that. But I cut a lot of teeth on the ColecoVision and the Atari 5200, strangely enough, because my neighbor had those. And we were inseparable growing up. We did nothing but game. I had the Atari ST and the Sega Master System eventually. So between the two of us, we had access to a lot of really cool and somewhat considered exotic today systems. And, you know, didn't think anything of it back then, but you really think a lot of it now, because those are more uncommon and you definitely don't see them in the wild. I've found 2 Master Systems in the wild in my days, and it's been a lot of days. NESs, I could brick a house with how many of them I found. Master Systems, and you gotta dig. I found 1 Master System. I found a boxed 32X one time. Found 1 Master System at a yard sale, and I found 1 at somebody's secondhand shop that I don't think they really understood what it was. But they let me have it for 25 bucks. They were missing some parts. I had all the parts it needed, so I did the it's missing parts routine. Because it was. I mean, let's be fair. But yeah, you just don't find them. And it's neat when you do, because there's so many different versions of the Master System, you really can't tell just by looking at them which one you've got. Well, some people can, but you got to fire it up and see what the built-in game is. Some of them have that snail maze game. Some of them have missile defense on there. You just don't know. It was the pre-installed bundle before they had pre-installed bundles. That was one interesting thing about the Master System. Not that it necessarily had over the NES, just something different than, because obviously that wasn't a huge deal to have 1 game on there, but kind of a neat bonus. I will say I played a lot of the snail maze on mine growing up. We'd make bets with each other and see how fast we could finish each maze. You know, we could really finish this guy quicker if we could throw a super punch, but without a without the select button, I don't know how you do it. Now, they want me to hold 2 buttons? Surely not. Man, as you get up in the ranks on this, man, you can really have some scraps. And by that, I mean you getting really, you press the buttons and she walks faster. It looks goofy. Yeet! But yeah, you can get into some 7-round, 8-round, 12-round, oh, my hand's about to fall off round games. And it's just like, oh my God. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you, the stream was not without incident, but thanks to you guys coming on in, and we kind of worked out the issue there, and we're able to continue. And I'm so glad, because I wanted to show you all these tonight, and more. We've just run out of time. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Yeah, I mean, these are some really fun games, and such a tip of the iceberg, obviously, of what you get here. For the money, there's still so much coming up to look at, too. So I want you all to stay tuned for that. If you're watching the recap and you actually got this far, good for you, first of all. But second of all, please drop a like on this video. And if you have not already done so, I hope that you're going to subscribe to the Emceemur Show. Be a part of Mur-Nation. We're rising up all the fantastic things that we do right here on the show. You need to be a part of it. Make sure that you smack that notification bell so you're always the first to know when new content goes live, because you know that I love making it for you. TNL, will it be every Tuesday? I don't know. It depends on what we have to show you. I do have some fun streams lined up, so at least for the next few weeks, I hope we can continue to bring it to you. I know we got the holidays right around the corner. May take the week of Christmas off, but still have so much to show you guys. You know that. You know what I got coming your way. There's always more. The action doesn't stop here in the Mur Cave. It just doesn't. So guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you everybody for your help, for your support, and for just enjoying the show in general. I have a great time doing this with you. Emceemur signing off for this TNL, and I will see each and every one of you again next time.